Okay, sweet family, welcome to Sweet Annie's Faith. Now, I know that y'all haven't seen me for a while, and that is because I was trying to go through what I had to go through on my own because my journey is going to be a little different for this channel. So I had to transition into everything that I am transitioning into. And look who I have with me today. I have my daughter because this topic that I want to talk about tonight is something that she knows a lot about because you know a lot about it from a child. And this is a lot of what they haven't taught us in the churches and all those things. So a lot of times we don't know how to deal with these things. But as I said, I've been doing a lot of spiritual searching. So this was part of my spiritual walk. And I said to her last week, I think it was, or this week sometime, that I wanted us to do a video on this. So I am going to let her, because I was doing all the talking. For those of you that don't know me and is here for the first time, my name is Annie, and this is Sweet Annie's Faith. And this is, as I said earlier, my daughter Tati. She doesn't like the camera, so the mere fact that I got her in front of the camera tonight is an accomplishment. So tonight we are just having a beet and pomegranate drink that I made today. So if you see us drinking every now and again, you would know what it is that we are drinking. So today's topic that we are going to talk about is how mirrors play. I don't even know what to say. I don't want to say play an important part in our lives because it really doesn't. But
spiritually, it does.
In the spiritual realm, yes, it does. But it plays a very important part in our lives. So we are going to talk about how mirrors impact our lives and what we need to do to combat a lot of what happens to us in the spiritual realm because of mirrors. So I am going to let Tatiana start it off because I have my own input, my own thoughts on it, and I'm sure that she has her own thoughts on it as well.
I do, but it's just like I'm talking to okay.
So why did you start laughing?
Because it's just weird. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
We gotta get into the conversation.
All right. So she wants to get into the conversation. So mirrors, no, there are a lot of us that have all kinds of mirrors in our house. But I'm going to start with a little testimony and why I really wanted to share this information with you. Because this video is strictly for informational purposes only. So I would say about 3 weeks or so ago, I was getting these really, really bad dreams, and my room was feeling very eerie, because one thing that we must remember is whenever we go out to work or to whatever, we are mingling with people, we are interacting with people, and a lot of the times whatever those people are dealing with spiritual wise can affect us and can jump on us and affect us. So when we come home, we bring those spirits inside of our homes with us. So I was having...
Not necessarily, not all the time. It depends. If somebody in your vicinity, basically demons or spirits, much less, can't jump on you unless you give them an in. So that's how they work, in a sense. So if somebody get you emotionally riled up and that person has something attached to them, that's when the spirit does jump on you, because your emotions is an in. So if somebody made you feel irritated, frustrated, agitated, angry, that's how they just jump on you. They don't just jump on you, because everybody has some type of attachment to them spiritually.
Exactly. So you see how I get her to chime in, because I word it a little differently. So she's helping me with my wording. So yeah, and I was having these really, really terrible nightmares and stuff like that, and I don't normally go through that. I don't normally go through so much spiritual attacks. Well, not in a long time. When I was younger, I used to see things. I used to have dreams a lot and see visions and different things like that, but it hasn't happened like that in years. So I was wondering, what is it that is going on with me? And I felt as though something was seriously going on in the spiritual realm. And I'm going to let Tatiana explain to you more about that, because I know that I can tell you about what I was feeling and all those things.
You finished your testimony. You say you were having nightmares, and then what did you have to do next?
So I felt as though then my room needed cleansing, and little did I know that Tatiana felt that way as well, because when I came home one of the nights, she had my room all cleansed and everything like that. And one of the things that I noticed is that she had my mirror covered, right? Because another thing that I am going to mention is that my mirror is facing directly on my bed where I sleep. So mirrors are portals. And I know this might be a real serious topic and a controversial topic for some people, but we have to accept it now, because we are in a spiritual war, and there are spirits warring all around us. We might not be able to see them, but there are spirits warring all around us. So this spiritual war, we need to know how to fight. We need to know how to put on our battle gear and our armor, as the word says. But it is more to it than just putting on that armor. It's a lot more to it.
There's a lot more than just praying too.
Because you can't do normal praise anymore. Normal praise.
What people have to realize is that people on the other side, or people who do darker arts or darker things, or dabble in dark spirituality or whatever, they are doing way more than just praying. So what makes you think that you can just get away with a prayer and everything gonna be fine and dandy? That's why nobody moves ahead. You could pray and pray and pray all day, and you still gonna be stuck. nothing actually is gonna happen. Yes, prayers are important, but not just praying. When you're dealing with stuff like this, you cannot just pray. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Anyways,
And that is true.
When I cleanse your room and everything, were you suffering with the nightmares and stuff since?
No, actually, the nightmares stopped, but there was something I wanted to say before I went on with that. Mm-hmm. Now, I was in religion for over 30 years. Over 30 years, I was in religion, and there were certain things that they never taught us. There were things that when I read the word or whatever, didn't make sense to me. So I always was a little confused as to why it never made sense to me. And I don't know if there are a few of you there that might be feeling the same way, but that's just how I felt. And I used to question a lot of things, and for years I realized that I was searching, because I would go to a church and, get involved in the church and the activities and everything, and then a few years down the line, I would leave that church. And I couldn't understand why I was constantly searching, because I felt, okay, I am in this church. The pastor or whatever, they're progressing, and I'm watching people in the church and they're not going anywhere. And I felt as though, okay, for me as well, I felt as though I was just going around in a circle, because I would take 2 steps forward and I felt as though I was taking 10 backwards. So it didn't make sense to me as to why. And then 8 years ago, around 8 years ago, when we started on our spiritual journey, when I decided to use different names and all those things, I felt as though, well, I really didn't belong anywhere anymore, because everybody was doing things totally different to me. So, but let me get back to I just wanted to chime in just to say that, so that you would know where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a place of a religious person and it's still a lot of things that I have to unlearn, because I know that when I got my spiritual awakening, and that was not because of like anybody in my family, not because of anybody, it was a voice that I heard in my head. And no, I'm not crazy. I'm not hearing voices, because that's the first thing people would think, oh, she's hearing voices. But no, I'm not hearing voices. And I sat down and I cry sometimes. 8 years later, I'm still crying. When I say crying, when I think about things, because there's so much to unlearn. And Tatiana cleansed my room. I know when they were young, I used to cleanse their rooms, because I knew how important spiritual warfare was, and I used to cleanse their rooms, all my children's rooms, and their pillows and everything. And now that I'm older and she is older, she's doing it for me now. So
this needed a different type of cleansing. That's why I did it. It needed a different type of cleansing. What you was dealing with needed a different type of cleansing, because when I cleansed her room, what I use for cleansing, I use Palo Santo and I use sage, and I put clove, frankincense, myrrh in her, and eucalyptus in her diffuser, so that the air, because clove, herbs, people have to realize herbs is very important in spirituality, regardless of whether you think so or not. Herbs is very important to spirituality.
You can use them for good, or you can use them for evil. Because witches use
everything
herbs.
Has a medium. Everything can be used for good. Everything can be used for evil. Everything. So that's what I did. I put it so it could go in the air and basically cleanse the air while I'm doing the Palo Santo and saging. I also threw black salt at her mirror. I threw black salt around her bed, at her pillows. Black salt banishes anything that's in the vicinity. Also, we know how important salt is. We know how important salt is spiritually. It cleanses everything. It's a very good starter. But when I did that, I think I was going in my room to grab the sage or something, and I had already set up the diffuser and everything. And when I went in, I saw from my peripheral something standing right where we sit in. Standing right here just watching, because that's all it could do. But I knew there was some type of energy connected. I told her already she was dealing with evil eye, which she really found out that evil eye is not just,
something
you could ignore. Evil eye could actually make you very, very sick.
It makes you sick. It brings things
and it could plague your life.
And it brings things out on your skin.
It makes your hair dull.
It makes my hair
lackluster.
Dull and
it
lifeless.
Makes you drop things.
And
makes you very clumsy. I told her she was dealing with evil eye.
And so evil eye, and for those of you that know
and I covered her mirror because, yeah.
And she covered my mirror. So I came home and I found my room all the thing, and it felt lighter. It felt cool, because sometimes what I realized that the air is very thick, is very thick in that room. And as Tatiana said, normal prayers doesn't work for certain things. It really doesn't. Really doesn't work. So I was doing my normal prayers the way how I know to do my normal prayers and stuff like that. But when you're dealing with evil eye, or you're dealing with certain things, that's why when Yahushua was walking on this earth, he said that some of these things just don't come out unless you do prayer and fasting. But the praying that he meant was deeper than the surface prayers that we do in the religious community. And once again, for those of you that might think that this is a controversial subject, this is a subject to help those of you out there that might be going through stuff, because this is real life stuff that we are talking about now. And after she cleansed my room and covered my mirror and all of that, the second day I came home and I held up the cloth, because as I said, mirrors are portals. And what happens is that monitoring spirits watch you through mirrors. And I did a teaching a long time ago on the marine kingdom, and the marine kingdom talks about those things. It talks about the monitoring spirits. It talks about all those things. And so when I held up the cloth, I saw like it looked to the bottom of the mirror, it looked like splashes of water.
Like watermarks.
It looked like splashes of water, when you throw water on something, it looked like splashes of water. And I called Tatiana. I said, Tatiana, come look at this. And we felt it, and it felt like water mixed with oil or something. And there was nothing on my dresser or anything like that to cause that. So that was a weird thing.
And it couldn't be from the diffuser, because the diffuser was all the way on the other side away from the mirror. It was just not possible. Even if it was from the diffuser that night, it was just impossible, because the diffuser was all the way on the other side of the room. It was not the diffuser.
Yeah. And I still don't know what it was, what caused it, but I do I do know that we are all around us now. We are dealing with a spiritual cloud, a dark cloud that is over all of us. So, for those of you that might not be suffering with anything, congrats to you or whatever. But whenever, like even tonight, it was as though the enemy did not want this message coming through. And the reason is because of this topic. Because my back, I told my daughter my back was hurting me. I was feeling sick. I was feeling all kinds of things. Honestly, I was just feeling all kinds of things. My back was hurting. And now my back is not hurting me anymore. But what we did when we saw that water, or whatever it was, we proceeded to get my anointing oil. Oh, I didn't even bring it with me. But my anointing oil, I have two. I have one that has the frankincense, and myrrh, cedarwood, and all that in it, and hyssop in it, because those are herbs from the word. And then another one has like a little salt in it, because Tatiana explained how important salt is in anointing oils, in general. Salt is very important. Sea salt though, you cannot use iodized salt or anything, or table salt or anything like that. It has to be sea salt. So we took my anointing oil and we anointed the mirror and all that, and after we anointed the mirror, we prayed, of course, and I just pulled the covering back down. And the next day when I came home from work, I was looking to see if maybe it had that again or whatever, because we have to stop those eyes, those monitoring spirits from watching us. And monitoring spirits could come in any form, because they could come in the form of flies, they could come in the form of ants, they could come in the form of birds. I'm going to share another story later with you about blackbirds. They could come.
The problem isn't the monitoring spirits as well, if I could interject. The problem is who's sending the monitoring spirits. That is the problem. The same thing with demons, because you could pray and get rid of demons 100%. You could pray and do deliverance over yourself and get rid of demons, pray over your house and stuff like that, and you could get rid of demons. But if there is a portal, or if there is an in your house, or in
any little crack,
little crack, they could get in. If there's something in your house, or something attached to you, or somebody that is in your vicinity all the time, it's just gonna be a reoccurring infestation. It's like rats, basically. You have a rat problem, you call the people who deal with rats, what they call? Exterminators. You call the exterminators, they get rid of the rats come back. That's all it is. The problem is you have to get rid of the source of where the rats are coming from.
We were taught not to pray back to sender or whatever. We're not praying back to sender to harm anybody or to take
They wanted to harm you.
But they basically wanted to harm me,
you could
whoever.
dish it out, but you can't take it.
Right?
That's how I look at it.
But
100% back to sender.
But you in that case you have to say back to sender. But this is to stop the thing from happening, because if you just send it to the abyss or send it to it can keep. It's like it gotta be like a boomerang. It gotta be like a ricochet. It gotta be like something like that.
And that's another thing too. If you're dealing with people who deal in dark arts or whatever, or not just dark arts, but if you're dealing with somebody who's sending you an evil eye, It could be something as simple as that person is saying in their head, "Oh, I don't like her. I wish she could whatever."
Exactly.
You know, something as simple as that could put an evil eye on you. When you're dealing with people, because that's people, praying and just praying is not gonna work, because necessarily it's gonna get rid of the demon, but if that person is still in your vicinity giving you the evil eye, it doesn't stop. The problem is, when you're dealing with stuff like that, you have to return it to sender, because that's a person, is not a demon. You understand? As a person, and they're sending negative energy your way, and that negative energy is affecting you.
And basically has to stop. So you're doing this to
So
get
when
it to
you praying
stop.
and praying and praying and praying, that is not gonna work, because it's not deliverance necessarily that you need. The problem is that you need to cut off that.
You need to
sever that rope or whatever it is that's connected to you. That's their energy is connected to you. You need to sever their evil energy that they're sending your way. They need to sever. Also, too, this is not my first encounter with evil eye.
I was just gonna talk about.
This is not my first encounter with evil eye.
So what I wanted to talk about too is when Tatiana was young. Let's go back to the mirrors, because we're talking about evil eye, even talking about all those things. But let's go back to the mirrors and how dangerous mirrors can be, because you can be gifted mirrors and you really don't know the source that you got them from. You don't know what they use the mirrors for. And there was a thought that came to me. About this whole thing. Because mirrors are portals, and I thought about Karen Carpenter. And for those of you that might be younger, might not know who Karen Carpenter is, Tatiana knows, because she knows a lot of old music. And but I thought about her, and they said once that when she said that when she looks in the mirror, she was seeing that she was fat. So whatever spirit that was doing whatever in the mirror to her was causing her to look at herself as being fat. And she was so skinny. And because of that, she became anorexic and everything like that, and it finally killed her. Okay? And I thought about that, because you look in the mirror and you're seeing what you think is a reflection of you. But is it really a reflection of you? Is it really how you look? Is it really what people see? Because sometimes because when we look in the mirror, we see all kinds of flaws in ourselves. All kinds of flaws. And so...
I think that just has to do with it.
What?
I think that just has to do with us, like, being human. Everybody
Exactly.
has flaws in themselves.
Exactly. Right? I understand. But what I'm talking about is the mirror in general. When Tatiana was young, I can't even remember what age, but I know she was pretty young. She used to be petrified of mirrors. I had to take all the mirrors out of her room. She didn't, even if she had
one
a room,
mirror
she had
still
one,
left in my room.
and she would cover that mirror.
I would cover it all the time with a
She
blanket.
would cover that mirror all the time. And you know what? She would always tell me, Mommy, I can see people in the mirror. I can see people watching me. I can see this. And me, not knowing what I know today, was thinking, what is wrong? What is wrong with this child? You know, in me, wait, oh, you mean you seeing? But I can't see anything, you know, but she could see. She could see these things. And she was petrified.
That's how I also learned how to read, because I didn't used to go to sleep, because every time I slept, I used to get bad nightmares. And I used to see things, or whenever it became dark. I still don't like dark. I don't sleep in a dark room. I always have on a light. Yes, I'm still scared of the dark. Woo. Anyway, but I didn't. That's how I learned how to read, because I used to stay up and read books until I couldn't stay up no more and fall asleep. That's how I learned how to read.
Yeah, but so that is how that was my first experience, and that was like a lot of years ago, over 20 years ago. And that was my first experience with mirrors and the impact that mirrors have on our lives because of her telling me these things and one thing I want to say to anybody out there: your child tells you that they're seeing things in the closet, they're seeing things in the mirror, they're seeing things, whatever, they're really seeing them, because we lose that sight when we get a certain age. But because they're still, I don't know what realm they're normally in, but because they're still young and all that, they see these things, they see these spirits, they see, because I used to see them. I remember seeing them, and I used to have these bad dreams all the time that somebody was chasing me and I was flying, and I used to have these dreams.
We already knew, because when we were talking about it, we found out the source of why she was getting those dreams. Because I said dreams sometimes could be what spirit is trying to tell you. You just have to interpret it. That's why there's, even in the Bible, there's interpreters for prophecies, or there's interpreters for dreams. Because the Holy Spirit could give somebody a dream, but the person that got the dream might not understand the dream. And that's why the Holy Spirit also brings an interpreter for the dream. But yeah, I just wanted to get into a little bit of spiritually, how mirrors were back in ancient cultures, or whatever, how mirrors correlate in ancient cultures, just to give a little background. So I have here, this is from an article. It says, for instance, in ancient Egypt, they believed that mirrors were eyes of the soul, which goes back to what Mommy was saying about Karen Carpenter, and how when she looks in the mirror, when we see the mirror, when we look in the mirror, we see parts of ourselves that we don't really like. Or, how she was saying that Karen Carpenter thought that she was, when she looked in the mirror, she thought that she was fat. She was saying that she was fat. So it says, basically, mirrors, they was believed in ancient Egypt, mirrors was the eyes of the soul. These polished bronze surfaces were more than just objects. They were magical tools that allow people to perceive beyond the physical world, which is true, because if you look into, there's a practice that some people do called mirror scrying. There's also black mirror scrying, which I believe that we do every day and we don't even know it. But mirror scrying basically is looking in to your mirror. You turn off all your lights in your room. Do not do this. I'm saying this is a practice that some people do, but I'm explaining what it is. You turn off all the lights in your room and you sit and you put a candle in front of your mirror and you stare into the mirror. You don't look at yourself, you stare into the mirror. And it takes you into a trance-like state where you're able to see beyond what the eyes can perceive, which is basically the same thing as what our peripheral does. It allows you to do the same thing as your peripheral. And then there's black mirror scrying, which is the same thing. You do turn off all your lights and then you put a candle in front of the mirror. But this time it's a black mirror. So it's a polished black mirror. And it allows you to basically go into a trance-like state and see the beyond, or whatever you want to call it. See the other realm. There's also mentioned that mirrors are a bridge between the living and the dead. So, So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. And what else? Just to get that in there really quickly. Yes, but bridge between the living and the dead. As we both know, when somebody dies in your family, it's like an old wives' tale to cover the mirrors. Cover the mirrors when somebody dies, or cover the mirrors at the wake. Make sure to because it says that the spirit might get confused. It's also said that not just the spirit might get confused at their own appearance, but the spirit might get trapped in the mirrors. So mirrors can be used for both good and evil. Mirrors can be used for monitoring. Mirrors can be used for practicing dark arts. Mirrors can be used for seeing the beyond, seeing things. It's just the same thing as the crystal ball as well too. Seeing into a reflection. Before there was mirrors, there was the water surface, which is also another thing. A mirror, I think in ancient Chinese, the Chinese believe that mirrors can. What's the element? The element of mirrors is water, because it's connected. It's tied to like seeing your reflection into the water. So that's why you will put a mirror in feng shui or whatever. You'll put a mirror close to any type of entrance or exit of your house, so that if there's any evil or anything like that that's trying to come into the house, when it passes the mirror, it'll be confused by either its own reflection or it will be trapped in the mirror. It depends. You have to seal your mirrors. But that's just with feng shui or whatever you want to call it. Chinese beliefs.
Yeah, so while she is looking at that, as I said earlier, they are a portal. And just like certain parts of our body are portals, our eyes are portals, our ears, and we need to learn how to anoint certain parts of our body, like the top of our head, because it reminds me of the word when it says the helmet of salvation. How do we put on the helmet of salvation?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We anoint our heads, the bottom of our feet, our hearts, our abdomen, our hands, so that our hands can be fruitful in everything we do, because our hands could cause us to lose a lot or gain a lot. And all these things I've been teaching and learning myself within the last, I don't even know how long, but as I said, I have to relearn a lot of things that I learned in the religious organization. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going back to like the history of mirrors. It says in Mesoamerican, the Mayas and the Aztecs viewed mirrors as also, like she said, portals and to other dimensions.
Right.
But they used crafted, polished obsidian, which is basically a black mirror. So that's tying back into black mirror scrying of what I was saying that some people do, is to see hidden truths or whatever. I don't know. But I would not suggest anybody do black mirror scrying, because I've seen that could make somebody go crazy.
Yeah.
So I would not suggest you do that.
Another thing too, make sure, because I really started doing it more often, make sure you cover yourself.
And seal your mirrors.
And, cover yourself. And as Tatiana says, seal your mirrors. Watch who give you mirrors. Watch, the background, where they came from. Because you don't know what that person did with that mirror before they gifted it to you. So gifts could be a blessing and it could be a curse. So that's why if you're bringing anything that anybody gift you like that, you pray over it, anoint it, pray over your oil first, anoint your mirror, and or if you think that it is something that you can part with, then part with it, because this spiritual world is really bad.
Also, I wanted to say another thing too. If you have two mirrors facing each other, I suggest you rearrange that.
Yeah,
because
you can't.
That is literally a spiritual highway. Two mirrors facing each other creates a spiritual highway where things could literally just teleport into your house if you look at it that way. Spiritually, that's how it is. It's a spiritual highway. So any and everything, it doesn't matter if it has connections to you, it doesn't matter. It could just come in your house as a spiritual highway. So do not have two mirrors facing each other like this. No, that's a spiritual highway.
And I started off by saying, if there is a possibility that you cannot have your vanity mirror or any mirror facing your bed,
don't have a mirror facing your bed.
Don't have it facing your bed at all, because you're being monitored. You're being monitored.
Will watch you sleep, yes.
In the spiritual realm, and they do all kinds of things to you. I tell you.
Because you have to realize, when you are sleeping, you are also going into a translate state. You are very susceptible to everything. So it's not just things just watching you sleeping is affecting you. It's gonna try to, in that state, it's gonna try to do something, bother you, try to enter you, whatever, try to come in. Because you are asleep, you're in a translate state, you're basically spiritually roaming. If you don't dream, you're spiritually roaming.
And the spirit gives you these dreams to warn you. And I think the reason I was getting all these dreams, because I think I told my eldest daughter too, and I definitely told Tatiana, but the reason I was getting all these bad dreams is because the way how my room is situated, my vanity, I can't.
It's facing directly at her bed.
And I can't put it anywhere else really. So that's why I have to cover it, and I cover it now. But I know that this topic might be a little weird to a lot of people. A lot of people out there might not believe what we're saying, because years ago, when I came out and I was talking about spiritual warfare, how spiritual warfare affects us, there were a lot of people that was against me, against it, and thought I was weird, thought I was all kinds of things, because I used to do the Facebook lives on it. Till one day I said, I'm just gonna stop the Facebook lives, and I'm gonna start talking about these things on my YouTube channel. But I was speaking about them in a different way, more, as I said, more of a religious way. But now that I'm educating myself more, I'm speaking it more of a spiritual way, because we are all spiritual beings living in a body, and we have a soul.
Another thing too I wanted to add is that when some people who are incredibly tapped in, just like water holds memory.
Yes.
Because there's basically a study
water does hold memory.
Water holds memory. Water can show you how you will look in the future. Water can show you how you looked as a baby, and water can show how you looked in the present. Water holds memory also too. You could put, I don't know, a form of anything. Water holds memory. Water takes shape of everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So water holds memory, and just like how water holds memory, mirrors are connected to water because the element of the mirror is water, because it has the same reflection. It doesn't take the same shape, but mirrors can also hold memories. And there's some people who have the ability to if there's a mirror. This is why when you leave your house or when you leave and you cannot take a mirror with you, I suggest you break the mirror. Do not just leave or give it away or whatever. Do not buy a new mirror if you move in or whatever. Buy a new mirror or break that previous mirror if you cannot take it with you. Because some people have the ability that if they get a hold of that mirror that you had, they could see everything that you were doing. They could see all the previous, because it holds memory, they could see all the previous things that you were doing or how you look or who owned the mirror. They could see everything because mirror holds memory.
Yeah.
So if a murder or whatever happened and the mirror saw it, you gotta look at it as mirror's eyes, and the mirror saw it, the person that has the ability that got a hold of that mirror, they could see the murder through the mirror. So this is why when you move in or whatever, you should, if you can't take the mirror with you, I suggest you break it. And in some cultures, people say it will give you bad luck for 7 years. I don't know about that, but personally, that's what I know, because some people do have the ability. Because you gotta realize we dealing with other things besides just demons and angels. We dealing with people who harness the forces of these things.
And that's why Ephesians 6 tells us, Ephesians 6:12 tells us, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, which is a ranking by itself, against powers, which is another ranking, and against the spiritual wickedness of this world. So there are different rankings that we have.
And dark forces.
And we in the church, unfortunately, is not prepared for a lot of these things.
Entirely not. And that's unfortunate because the people on the other side are doing way more than what people in the churches are doing in regards to spirituality. Spiritually, they're making moves. They actually have some type of power, regardless to if it's bad or good. They actually have some type of power that can and will affect you if you are not making moves in the spiritual world. And that's just the unfortunate truth. People believe that just praying and stuff like that and covering yourself and protecting yourself and stuff like that, like praying and saying it, is just going to be enough. Like, no, that's not going to be enough. Yes. Yeah, it's gonna send his angels and stuff like that. But when you are going up against people who are like dabbling in the dark arts, they can't really. The angels deal with demons. You understand? It's up to you to deal with these other people who are dabbling in other stuff, whose hands are dirty or whatever you want to say. It's up to you to deal with them, because that's the way I look at it.
We can't, as
angels not gonna go after a human. You know what I mean?
We can't be asleep. We can't be asleep anymore. We really can't be asleep anymore. And the reason I shared that little testimony...
Because of free will, sorry. I wanted to add that. Angels can't go after humans because of free will. They could go after demons that are plaguing you. But they cannot... If a human or a person is doing witchcraft or whatever, angels will not be able to do anything to that person necessarily. They could stop their forces that they're gathering to do something. But to stop them fully is up to you. You have to make moves. If you are not making moves spiritually and you not powerful like how they are, because trust me, these are people who will go days without eating. These are people who will sit in their room for 3 days in pitch black darkness just so that they could get something. These are people who would kill.
You remember John
to get some type of power. These are people who are harnessing these are people who are doing things to harness that power. In order for them to get the power, they have to, give up something like their eyesight for like a little amount of time or whatever, for a couple of days, or they have to go cripple. And it is happening. It's happening all around you. These people are making moves. You cannot just sit down and just think, okay, I'm gonna just say my little prayer and that's gonna be it. That's not what it is.
And I know what it is. And I know what it is when you come up against these things. Because when Tatiana talked about, I'll share that another time. But when Tatiana talked about being crippled, I know because I was crippled for over 3 months. Over 3 months because of, I would say no.
Witchcraft.
I would say no, it was evil eye. That's why I would
And witchcraft.
and
Evil eye is not necessarily witchcraft, but no, what she had when she was crippled, it was not evil eye. Evil eye cannot make you crippled. It was witchcraft. That was witchcraft, 100%.
And the unfortunate thing about it, the churches are not prepared for these things, and they're not preparing us for these things. And that is why so much of us are going crazy, committing suicide, committing that S word that they don't like us to say anymore. But that is why so many things are happening, because we are just not prepared. And that's why
and if you're just praying and you're not seeing anything happening and any fruits or anything
try
happening,
a different route, try a different way.
Is insanity at that point.
It's insanity, and it was insanity for me, because
then you're going to feel that you're not having enough faith,
exactly,
or this and that. That's not the case. It's just you still on milk. Yeshua talked about milk. You still on milk. That's what it is.
And it is time for us to get off of the milk. It is time for us to get out of those churches that are not teaching us how to survive in this place.
The base level of any church, if any church is not teaching deliverance, base level deliverance,
and I said that.
At least deliverance, I don't think you should be in that church, because if any church is not doing deliverance or teaching deliverance, do not be in that church.
I said
because at that point, you're just on milk. You have no way to defend yourself. You have no way to protect yourself. You have no way to protect your family. And basically, it's just setting you up for failure, because you're just going there to feel good every weekend. You're going there to feel good.
True.
That's it.
True.
And then you're going back home to the same crap. So.
And another thing that I want to say too is, you have to be careful, and I said this many times on Facebook Live, but you have to be careful who you let lay hands on you. Everybody, don't let any and everybody lay hands on you, because people are carrying stuff and they're transferring whatever it is onto you. Because if they're not clean, how are they going to be making you clean?
Yeah, I really don't understand the laying hands.
And I always and
let me pray for you, like.
And I left churches.
I could pray for myself.
I left churches.
You don't need to, like, if you're doing deliverance, not even really in deliverance like that, do they really like lay hands on you or say the type of prayers? They're doing deliverance prayers. That's different. You know what I mean? They're delivering you from the evil because, you're trapped there. Somebody has to be the interceder or whatever you want to call it. Somebody has to do the petition for you because your soul is under contamination. So that's different. Deliverance is different than laying hands. When somebody lay hands on you, that's just weird to me. Like, oh, let me pray for you to get rich, or let me pray for you to, I don't know. Like, that's weird.
But we're talking about pastors too,
Yeah, pastors too.
Right.
That's weird.
That lay hands on you, because I left churches because I felt uneasy all the time, because there were, sometimes there's some churches you go to and these people always want to lay hands on you and pray for you. And, you don't want to say, okay, don't touch me, don't put your hand for me, whatever the case may be. But I always used to feel uneasy, feel weird, feel all kinds of things. And then I started feeling as though I don't even want to go back to that church, because I feel if I go back to that church, they're going to want to lay hands on me again and pray for me. And I don't need so much prayer every Sunday. So it's as though, because we going back now to the evil eye and the monitoring spirits.
Yeah, you don't know who thinking what.
You don't know in that person's mind what they're really thinking, what they're really doing. So you're going back to all those things. A lot of times we go to doctors and doctors can't even find anything wrong with us. And they say, okay, well, if it is not something physical, it got to be something mental. And that's the two route that they go, because that is what they did to me when I was younger. But as I said, we can go into all those things at another day, but another time. But I just wanted to share this information with you. Let me see if I have anything in my notes that, because I did jot down a few notes here, and I already told you mirrors can be used as a demonic tool of surveillance. And I have mirrors hold power, and the same thing like what Tatiana was saying, it holds memories. And I have witches use mirrors as portals to monitor our lives. All these things we discuss. And in 2 Kings 6, Elisha was able to see the king of Syria and saying what he was saying in his bedroom, and he was not even there physically.
Was Elisha?
Okay. Let me see.
But like I said, you could use it for everything. It could be used for good or bad. Like I said, you could also trap certain evil energies and evil dark spirits or whatever in mirrors as well. But you know, in
those days, they have like mirrors like.
Well, the Maya use polished obsidian and they use polished bronze.
Right.
Probably.
Like what we have. But anyway, Elisha was able to
it's
see
just
the king of Syria.
reflection. That is a mirror.
Yeah. Then I have here that objects can be spiritually charged, and which is true. They can be spiritually charged. They can be used to steal your peace and your progress, which we know, and introduce confusion.
And definitely a mirror can be one of those things, especially if it was gifted to you. It can be, you're not doing it intentionally. It's just, it sees all. So whatever, if a mirror comes from like a certain household where it's chaotic and you know, abusive and this and that, it can hold that energy. Just like I said, it holds memory. It can hold that energy. And then when you bring that mirror that has that spiritually charged with that energy into your home, then you will have just what Mommy just said.
Yeah, it's amazing that you said that, because I said one cursed mirror in our home can open the home to the monitoring spirits, because a cursed mirror, you know, just...
It can open your home to all types of spirits.
All types of spirits, yeah. But anyway, but I think that we basically covered a lot of information. I don't know if Tatiana have anything to say, but one thing I want y'all to do for me is that if you enjoyed this topic, let us know. If you want to hear more from us, let us know.
If you want to know how to seal your mirrors properly, if you really want to know, like, we're just talking from our experience, but if you do want to know how to seal your mirrors, if you do want to know how to actually make moves spiritually, you could, you know, just let Mommy know down below, and she will probably
you know, just send us a comment. Tell us how you like the topic and what about it that interests you, what about it that you understood and didn't understand, or whatever the case may be. But I think that is going to be it for now. Oh, one last thing I want to say is, and this is something that my pastor told me, and I stopped doing it, but my pastor from Barbados had told me over 20 years ago, I think it was, over 25 years ago actually, about reading Psalm 91. Psalm 91 is a very, very good psalm that we should read. We should cover ourselves with this.
That's what I read in her room when I was doing the cleansing as well. I left it open on her bed, and I told her that, say Psalms 91 before you go to bed. And trust me, I told her, you don't get no more nightmares. She said, what you do? You cleanse my room? I say, yeah, I cleanse your room. You don't get no more nightmares. And mark my word, she did not get any more nightmares. But I left Psalms 91 open because you got to realize that the Psalms are not just regular prayers. Psalms are not only just what people would say prayers. Solomon knew what he was doing. Remember, Solomon he had all the knowledge.
He was the
wisest person, or whatever you want to call it, because Yah bestowed him with wisdom of the mysteries of the universe. He knew what he was doing. And it's not just prayers. Trust me, Psalms are not just prayers. Psalms is what I call spells. And a lot of people think I'm a witch or whatever. You can call me whatever you want, but I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm not a witch. You can call me whatever you want. But if you read the way how some Psalms is not just a prayer, it's a proclamation, basically. It's proclaiming, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. That's a proclamation. As I will it, so might it be. If you know, you know. Anyways, that's just what I wanted to add, but yeah.
Yeah, so... Well, once again, this is Tatiana, and I think that this is a good time to end it here. And if y'all enjoyed this once again, y'all know what to do. We have more information. We have more things like this that we can talk about. But I just wanted to bring this one to you about mirrors. So when you look at your mirrors, don't look at them the same way, because they're not what you think they are. I mean, yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
They're just a conduit.
They're not evil things, as Tatiana said. But they, as she said, I can use a different word, they're portals.
And it's good to know the energy that's around you. It's good to know the energy that something around you can harness, because it's not just an inanimate object. A mirror is not just an inanimate object. It definitely holds a lot of energy, and it definitely can do a lot more than we think it can do. It's not just there.
And I used to tell Tatiana this for years and years and years. I always used to say, and before I even knew all the things that I know now, I would say, everything has energy. Everything. When I had my garden, I used to go out and I play worship music, I talk to my plants, I do all those things. And those things used to grow so beautiful, so lovely. My herbs and everything like that. And then I watch houses. I watch houses in my gap in Barbados. There were so many abandoned houses, and in these houses, nobody did anything, but the houses just fell apart. And I always felt that these houses needed human energy, because I think the energy of life brings all these things to life, and I would always tell her that everything holds energy. So when we're talking about mirrors, it's the same thing. They hold energy. Some energy is just lower than others. Some things just vibrate at a higher frequency.
And like I said, you can use mirrors for good as well too, because
exactly.
What is it? In some cultures, like I think voodoo. Yes, I can talk about it. But anyways, in some cultures in voodoo, what they did was basically put a doll or a figure that's supposed to represent you into a mirror box. Basically, it is a box just with mirrors on all sides, on every corner. And they put that in there, and they believe, with herbs and stuff like that, they believe that it would basically, it was a form of protection for them. It would basically, any evil forces will be trapped in the mirrors. And also too, you could think about the Dybbuk box, which is another one, which is another mirrored box, where they believe that they could trap demons. A Dybbuk box, we know what Dybbuk box is. They believe that they could trap demons in a Dybbuk box, which is another mirrored box with, you know, prayers sealed around it as well too. Even, I think, the Annabelle doll is also trapped in, well, supposed to be, when she was in Ed and Lorraine's hands, she was in a box with, you know, the word plastered on each what do you call it?
Each side?
Each side of the box, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, the thing about it, the thing about it,
evil, trap things.
The thing about it, Tatiana might be quite young and all those things, but she has seen a lot of things in her younger days as well, living in St. Lucia, that she couldn't explain at the time, or she couldn't understand at the time. But now that she has grown older, she can understand it. She can understand what it is, and she understands now what she was seeing.
It was only fuel to the fire to understand.
A lot of the
and do research
stories that my ex-husband used to tell as well about when he was growing up in St. Lucia and all of that, all the different things that used to happen, it really shows me that we are just not prepared for the spiritual world, because the spiritual world is more vast and more dense than the physical world. The spiritual world has more in it than the and
it looks completely different
than
what we see right now. It was still the same space, mind you, but spiritual and physical are two different realms, and it's the same space but two different realms, and it looks completely different. So in the spiritual realm, right here where we sit in on chairs, that might not even be what it is. And I was trying to explain, we'll get into that in another video.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have so much information that we could share. We have a vast of information that we could share, because there's so many things that we saw and experienced coming from the Caribbean and living in the Caribbean that we can definitely share. So as I said, if you want to hear more, just press subscribe and like the video, send us a comment, and let us know how you enjoyed this first episode of what we're doing. I don't know how much I will get her to come on the camera, because she's not a camera person at all.
I'm not a camera person, but if it's requested from the viewers, I will come back. If
Yeah,
not, we'll see.
Yeah. So just request it. Okay, just request it. Because it's so hard to get her on the camera. All right. So I think
one more thing I wanted to say, because when we were talking about black mirrors, I wanted to say, because I did mention, I think I hinted at it when it was talking about black mirrors and black scrying, which is basically looking into a mirror and, you know, seeing hidden truths or seeing things. I wanted to say that we use black mirrors every day, and I don't think a lot of us notice it, because this right here is a black mirror.
That's why they monitor us.
And what do you see when you use it? Things that are not here physically is things that is through the black mirror when you look at it. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
Food for thought.
So
thought.
that would be a good place to end this video now. So thank you so much for joining us. Once again, my name is Annie, and this is Tatiana. And the discussion today was supposed to be mirrors, but we went into a few other things. So if you enjoyed it, just press that thumbs up and subscribe. So have an awesome week. And once again, let your light shine and spread the love.